Lainie, bitch! That was a good one. That feels good. That feels good to say. Okay, it's Lainie. That is me. That is me. And this is what I'm going to tell you about this episode. This week, we got fucked up. And I do not mean alcohol. I mean, I didn't know what I was going to say. And dude, I mean, don't listen to this if you're sad right now. Yeah, don't listen to this if you're sad right now. If you're mentally ill, do listen to this. Tell me what you think. I would love to hear if you feel the same way as me. I really would like to, because describing it, communicating it is really hard, and I want to hear how other people experience it. So I'll give us a little song into the depths of my physical sadness, and I will do it with a dirge. Take your meds or you might kill yourself. Literally. The internet for money, and they gave it to me because I was having such a horrible month. Like, so many things. It's the whole, what do you call that, law of thingies about the wrong stuff. What do you call that? Murphy's Law, yeah. Which is the stupidest law. 5, I would say that the people who use it, it's like saying, dance like no one's watching. That's what it's like. It's like God had a plan. No, but I believe in God now because the internet gave me cash. Cold, hard cash, baby, on the internet, baby. Yes, I sell cars now. I sell used cars. I am a mom and I eat my butt. Okay, so what happened is that I had so many things go wrong, like so incredibly, that I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I don't care what anyone thinks about me. I am just literally going to say what I want. And like, if nobody does it, who cares? But like, you don't get anything you don't ask for. And it's like, this is a problem for me. And I was like, I'll just tell people it's a problem. And so I just wrote on my Facebook and I was like, bro, my PayPal account is negative $55 right now. And I've been doing all this budgeting, trying to essentially get that back because I don't have any debt at all. And like, I never have. And so it like is really weird anyway, but I'm super poor, but but I have so much negative money. And then somebody sent me money and I was like, oh my God. And I was being negative. Oh, because I said, if you send this to me, I'll believe in God. And I was like joking, but also she sent it to me. And then I was like, the world is actually fine. Honestly, it worked. And I was not expecting it to work because what I thought was going to happen is I thought a bunch of men were going to hit me up because men will send it to you because of your boobs, especially on Instagram. And you know what? I highly encourage that. Send me money because of my boobs. Send me double the money because I have 2, and I will tell you the size of them. What about that? Is that a good deal? Send me money, and I will tell you the size of my boobs. How about that? I'll measure them in like circumference, or I'll do volume. Oh my God, this is so funny. I'm going to do it. I am going to do all of the empirical measurements possible of my breasts. What a horrible word. That's not a good word. Boobs isn't either. Tits is good, but only for sex stuff. Anyway, there's no good word for what I have, which is joie de vivre. Anyway, oh God, I have to stop saying anyway. Okay. But I'm going to take every empirical measure possible of my jugs. That one sounds so funny. Wow, I am under a lot of stress. Oh my God. Wait, you say it. Let me hear you say it. No, don't say it. Oh, God. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. I'm going to take every empirical measurement of my jugs. And then any man who sends me money on PayPal, I'm going to send you the stats of my boobs. I'm going to make a trading card of my boobs, and you're going to see them, and they're going to be enclosed, and then I'm going to list, like a fucking Pokemon, all of the empirical values and skills of my boobs. How do you feel about that, Aaron? Okay, I got a thumbs up. And you know what? you gotta catch them all, baby. 1, 2, 3. I'll take 3 boobs. Who cares? It's boobs. Load me up. You know what I'm saying? All righty. Everybody loves a good tit. Ugh, I don't like it in conversation. So I got dumped real hard. Like I didn't have a breakup. I got dumped. I got so dumped, Aaron. Dude, I was so fucking dumped. Can you even believe how dumped I got? I got like mega crazy dumped. Well, I haven't even told. Okay, so here's what happened. My boyfriend started ignoring me, and then he ignored me for like a full month. And I would be like, oh, we should hang out. And he'd be like, no. And I'd be like, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. And he'd be like, yeah, you have. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let me know when you're free then. And then he would be like, okay. And then I would say, oh, okay, are you going to be free on Saturday? And then he'd be like, no. And I'd be like, it seems like I'm not like a priority to you. And he was like, what are you talking about? The second I like don't see you for one day, you freak out. Like you get so needy. And I was like, okay, I'm so sorry about that. I apologize and I love you. And these are the things that I love about you. And I'm just trying to communicate with you because it's important to me that we have open communication. And then he said, yes, I love you. And I am trying to find out how to be a partner to you long term. And then I said, okay. When will you see me? Let's schedule it because our schedules are different. And then, we'll just have it penciled in. And then he said, Wednesday and Thursday. And then he was talking to me about like, regular texts you do throughout the day, just like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm ready to go home, blah, blah, blah. And then he just never came to see me. And he had told me so much that I was so incredibly needy that it is crazy that this shit keeps happening to me. I don't notice it till afterwards. You don't know. Okay. So anyway, he had told me that I was being needy and crazy. And so every time he ignored me or insulted me, I apologized. And so he told me, I'll see you on Wednesday and Thursday. And then he was still talking to me like in text, like, oh, I'm so ready to go home. Even called me and we had like a very normal conversation. We were laughing. We were having a good time, but then just didn't show up. And I was like, oh, well, he's stressed right now, I guess. So he had told me so many times that I was being unreasonable that I was like, okay, well, I won't bother him because I'm putting so much stress on him. So I just he just didn't show up on Wednesday or Thursday, didn't talk to me on Friday, and then didn't talk. And his phone broke in this time. But he has a job where he spends 8 hours a day on a phone and you can have a phone number. And he was seeing my messages and sometimes texting me back. And you have my email address. Like you literally work 3 blocks from me and you will come and see me sometimes on my break. And you know when my break is and you just stop by and say hello. Like, you know how to talk to me. It's not difficult. Like there's no excuse. So anyway, these are all the things I'm not supposed to say, but he didn't see me on Wednesday. I didn't say anything. Didn't see me on Thursday. I didn't say anything. Didn't mention anything about it on Friday. I didn't say anything. Didn't say anything to me on Saturday until finally and at this point I'm calling him and texting him, trying to be like, where are you? Like, you promised me you were going to see me and now I'm just so confused. So I get a hold of him on Saturday morning and I called him and he was like, can't talk. What? And I was like, Oh, this is what I said. I was like, Jeff, what the fuck is going on? I'm really concerned. That's verbatim what I wrote. Because I was still like, I was being mistreated, but I still felt like it was my fault for being annoying. And I had to apologize for even being confused about what was happening. So I said, what the fuck is going on? I'm concerned. And he said, oh my God, you're so needy. I haven't seen you in one day and you freak out. And it had been, I mean, not only like 6 days, but also we had plans and he ignored me for days and days and days. So I was like, do you want to be dating me? And he was like, if you're not ready for this, then bye. And I said, no, everything I say is just, I said, like, I want to be with you. I just miss you and I want to be with you. And like, I'm really worried that we're not spending time together, so I don't feel connected to you. And then we argued. And so I was saying, I need to talk to you about this. It's important that we connect. And he said, we need a break. Goodbye. And I was like, what? So then we got in an argument, of course. We're going back and forth. And I told him, listen, you can do whatever you need to do, but we just need to talk about it in person and not in text messages where everything gets confused. Because I fucking hate talking to people via text when it's like that. I don't like talking to boyfriends during text because it always gets things scrambled up. You can't hear what they're saying to you. And it's like they might seem curt when they're just saying words to you. But he always he would refuse to like see me or talk to me or be around me. And he would make me do text messages and then act like it was so crazy that I wanted to talk to him. He'd be like, because also he told me, your attitude is turning me off. Like, you're making me angry, so I don't want to see you right now. And I was literally saying, I love you so much. And I literally gave him a list. These are all the things I love about you. So he said, maybe we can talk if my phone gets fixed today. So then he calls me at 3:00 and he's like, it's over. Goodbye. And I was like, what? And so we had been dating for 7 months, right? And I came to like a family function and met his parents. He came home and met my parents with me. So I thought everything was going well. And then he called me and said, yeah, I'm over it. We can't be together. You're sad all the time. I just can't handle it. I'm not strong enough. I'm not like your stepdad. I can't handle essentially being with like basically the mental health needs of the women in my family. Because my stepdad had said something to him like, oh, what did they put you through? Oh, man, these essentially just like nudge, nudge, wink, wink. These women are high maintenance, right? Because I'm low maintenance in terms of money and I'm low maintenance in terms of material and commercial stuff. But in terms of, well, you know what? No, I was about to say in terms of love, I'm high maintenance. But you know what? I'm not high maintenance. I just like the person I'm in love with to love me. And when they don't do that, and when they're telling you that you're being crazy and needy and that it's your fault, you feel crazy. And it's so weird because I didn't know that was happening. And this happened to me before every time. And this is what I just described is gaslighting. This is 100%. That's what that is. And, if you need a definition, look it up or whatever. But what I described is what basically it is luring a woman into thinking she is crazy by acting callous towards her, but telling her that you are, there for her and stuff. Honestly, it doesn't have to be a woman, I'm sure, but whatever, you get the idea. And it's based on I think it's like a 1940s play or something. I actually just learned this week, called Gaslight. And it's got a very dramatic poster. There's like a Clark Gable looking guy and like a gal who looks like her name is Betty, but you could milk her like a cow, and like she's got hot boobs. I'm so weird. Anyway, so... But it's so strange because I don't notice it when it's happening because it works. It works. And I'll tell you this right now, folks, gaslighting, it works. Do you want to convince your girlfriend that she's insane, crazy, out of the head, nuts, going crazy? Boop, boop, boopy doop, scoop a little doop doop into her butt stuff. You get crazy when you're a nut. Do you want to convince your girlfriend that she's out of this world, up in the sky, bat shit? Then just gaslight her and it super works 100%. Well, no, not 100%, but it super works. Amazing. They'll fall into the trap. Not a big deal. I don't understand what the reward is, because I think, as far as I can see, that probably a lot of the time when people are doing it, they don't have like a thought that says, I want to, objectively, I have this plan to lie to this person in order to coerce them into a relationship where I am emotionally distant and they depend on me because I negate their personal emotional experience, depriving them of attention in order to create strife. I don't think people have that specific plan, but I guess the closest I can come to understanding it is maybe it's that you're protecting your well, I've seen a couple different kinds. So I used to date this guy. Oh my God. I can't tell the whole, we're going to have to tell the whole story another time. I used to date a married guy on accident. He tricked me into it. So, the open relationship, it was very confusing. So when I'm thinking about what people's reasons are for acting this way, his reason was that he enjoyed feeling powerful. He liked having me not feel good and be kind of like pining over him, so that he felt powerful and desirable. I think also it is probably a way of distancing yourself from creating emotional connections with people that cause you to be vulnerable. So it's to make yourself feel better than other people and to make yourself feel like you can't be hurt by other people. If I boil it down, that is my assessment. Obviously, I don't have any of the answers, but I'll just speak like I'm speaking the truth because I think that's what pastors do. And like, they don't even know God. He doesn't talk. Like, sure, he's up there. But literally, as I told you before, I decided that, okay, first of all, God is not a he, but I decided that God exists just because I needed him to. But so as far as I can tell, those are the reasons for it. But the thing that's so weird about it is that I don't know it's happening until after it's already happened. Because it worked. Because I trust people. That's what it is. It's because I trusted him. Yeah. And I didn't realize that his intentions with my daughter were nefarious. So, and he may not have realized. I don't know how much these people know about what they're doing, but it's happened to me so many times and it's so strange. I mean, this is a pattern for me. I'm sure I'm sure it happens to most women within their life. I think that for me, it's a pattern that it's 100% of my relationships. No, that's not true. But my long-term relationships, it's 100% of my long-term relationships, gaslighting. And that's so weird to notice that pattern now because it's like, how did it's just such a paradigm shift to realize that was happening to you. I didn't know. And here's the thing that happened to me when I wrote a whole album about it. I have a whole album out. When I had my mental breakdown was after my breakup with a boyfriend of like 1.5, 2 years who I lived with. And there are differences, but in similar fashion. When I got out of it, when I realized what had happened, when other people explained to me what had happened, when I looked back at it as a sum, because honestly, I guess the way that you break up with a person kind of determines the way that the relationship was, in that if he had been really kind and told me connecting, these are the reasons why I feel like we shouldn't be together, then I would say, hey, that's not a bad guy. And I would maybe think about, but I guess that's self-awareness. It's like, oh, I need to grow more before I can be in this. That's just if he blamed himself instead of me. So do it. But so this is the same thing that happened to me when I got out of my 2-year gaslighting relationship, which is that I knew, but I didn't realize that I had been severely depressed, and that, it's kind of like a snake eating its own tail, because I was severely depressed, and that does make me more needy. Honestly, it does. And I worry about that a lot, because because it's literally a depressive behavior. One of the symptoms of depression is to assume that you are a burden to other people. And I know you read that in a pamphlet, but it's because it's kind of true. But the only thing that's blocking you is that you're ruminating on it, because I am a fun person. People like me. When I'm depressed, I feel sad, and that's stressful for people. And then because it's depression and not just feeling sad, it keeps going. So after a while, it becomes kind of annoying. You still love them. You'll still do anything for them. You'll still be there for them. But it becomes annoying. But the only reason it becomes annoying is because I keep telling you, hey, people don't like me. And then you're like, I like you. People like you. And you're like, oh God, people don't like me. And they're like, I like you. And you're like, yeah, but people don't like me. But if you just said people like me, then that would literally be the end of the problem. But you can't, because you're depressed, which is it's like, how do I explain the way that you can't get out of it? It is a physical experience, because it's different than sadness. That's what it is. It's different than sadness, because being sad feels how being sad feels. Being depressed is feeling that way. It's like somebody shut a window. It's like somebody put all the curtains down. It's like when they cover up those mirrors after a Jewish person dies. Is that what they do? Sitting Shiva? Is that what it is? Yeah. It's like sitting Shiva. You cover up all the mirrors. It's like, but it is, it sounds so silly and trite, but it is like you can't see the end of the tunnel. Like that's a trite way of putting it. But to describe it, I'll say, like, let me think of how I felt when I was in my worst depression in my 2-year gaslighting relationship. And this is not, a person's fault. I had not started to deal with my mental health. I was still drinking. I was, not on any medication. But also I was being ignored by the person who was supposed to be supporting me in a very callous way. And that makes it worse. So in the time when I was in that, I would wake up in the morning, and it's like in Harry Potter when the snake, when they would see in the Sorcerer's Stone, when they would see the basilisk and then they would turn to stone, but they would be just frozen in terror. It's like that. And so that's how my chest felt, is like frozen in terror, and I can't move. And then my brain felt, it was telling me, it's like in Star Trek when somebody hits them and then all the lights go dark and everything red starts flashing and they're all grabbing stuff because they're getting knocked over and they're all falling over on each other, but they have to do that funny acting thing where they just kind of push each other around a bunch because they're not actually getting hit by anything because they're just on a carpet and they're not in outer space. But oh, Captain Janeway, you do give me hope for the women of this world. God, Voyager, up and away. Anyway, so that's how depression feels. In that, when they turn off all the lights and those red alarms go on and everything starts shaking. So they're essentially saying we're in panic mode. So my chest is, I have basilisk chest. I've got Voyager brain on red alert. And in addition to that, actually, I don't know if there is an addition to that. I just am floating. Basically, when I think about that time in my life, everything was red because I felt terror all the time. I woke up and I felt terror. And I'm trying to say like, oh, I felt terror, for half an hour until I got to work and then I would calm down. But it's not like that. I felt terror from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep. And I couldn't move and I couldn't go do my shows. And my partner was saying, what's wrong with you? And I was telling them I'm depressed. And it was a person who also deals with those kind of issues and therefore knows, what that feels like and that it is harder to get around. So, depression is different than sadness in that it has that kind of physical component and it shuts you down. It's like your body is telling you, it's the chemicals in your brain, but you feel like it's so insane to have the experience after you've seen the commercials, read the pamphlets. It's like, because they always have the commercials and this is what they say. They say, are you losing interest in things that you used to love? Do you not get to see your friends and family because you're tired all the time? Do you feel irritable, bloated, sad? Do you either not eat or you eat too much? Do you have trouble bathing on a regular basis? That's what they say in those commercials. And that is a list. And that happens to me. But it's so fucking weird because you hear that list just like, oh, are you experiencing blah, 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 blah. But it doesn't feel like that. It feels different when you have the experience. I haven't taken a shower because I hate myself. And it's because I haven't taken a shower because I don't want to take a shower because taking care of yourself means you have to acknowledge that you exist. And that thought is so despairing to me that I don't even want to do anything that would make me remember that I have a body. Like, not that I don't want to see myself naked, because at that point I'm kind of past that. I don't even care about what I look like naked because I'm in such doom that I'm thinking like everything is pointless. The world is, it's not like the world is out to get me, but it's like the difference between thinking it'll never work out and I can do it. And that's not even a good way to explain it because it's like, God, there's just no way for me to explain the intangible nature of how it feels to have that happen. It's like, if I tried to explain breaking my arm to you and I said, I have this horrible pain, like my tendons were so achy and everything was really locked up. And then like, it was really like the cast smelled so bad and then blah, blah, blah. And that's different than if you broke your arm and you remember that pain. So me saying, like imagining having the empathy for somebody to think how it physically felt for them when their arm broke is different than carrying the knowledge, the memory, and the physical experience of actually breaking that arm. And that's what the difference is between talking about mental illness and having mental illness. Insane. It's it's insane. It's cuckoo bananas. It's nuts. It's up in the air. It's such a profound difference. And I don't I don't know how it's possible for me to explain this to people. And I keep trying. And, probably one of the reasons why I'm thinking about this so much now, well, let me finish my story and then you'll understand. So my boyfriend called me and said, hey, it's over. And said, it's just not going to work. I'm not strong enough. Our lives aren't going in the same direction. And then I said, well, how are you feeling? What do you feel? What makes you feel that way? Because, I felt like, oh, you're not telling me how you feel, so I don't really understand where this is coming from. I was confused. That's what it is. I was confused. And then he told me, I don't want my kids to have depression, so I don't want to date you. And I was like, what? But like, if I had diabetes, like, what would you do then? It's just like, it's a chronic illness that I have to manage, but I'm fine. Like, I know how to deal with it. I have self-awareness, which is something that almost 100% of people do not have, but is something that mental health requires you to know. I have to know how I am appearing to other people, because a parallel to being autistic, I sometimes have to take the clues from around me to see what's happening. Like, if I start spending a bunch of money, if I stay up until 5 a.m, but I'm not tired, that means you're in a manic episode. Granted, there may be other things that, qualify it, but I have to look for clues because I'm feeling it. So I have to look for clues to say, oh, I feel the wrong way. And I need to it's like Blue's Clues, but for sadness. I have to find all the clues to realize I'm fucked up right now. Because otherwise, I just do me. I'm just out here bitching, batching around. I'm just chilling. So he told me, I don't want my kids to have depression. And I said, well, would you care if it was diabetes? And he said, that's not the point. I said, well, there's a lot of options. Like, you can have a surrogate, you can adopt, and he said, I don't want to do that. I don't want my kids to have depression, so it'll never work. And you take pills, and I'm not comfortable with that. Yeah. Pills. I guess this is the difference between being a storyteller and having a conversation, which is that, well, I didn't know what I was going to say or how I was going to say it at all when I came in here. I know what happened. I'm telling you a story out of my life. I know the main points because I, call my best friend weeping, and like, she comes over and rips everything of his off the wall and puts it into a suitcase and immediately that goes into the closet. And then I go online and I block him on Facebook. I block him on Instagram. I block him on Twitter. And then 2 days later, because it takes more balls, I block his phone number because I realize, like my therapist told me, he disqualified himself. And I wouldn't have before, but now I have the strength and the knowledge and the self-awareness to know that if he would, number one, treat me with that much flippancy, with that much carelessness, that is not a person who can be with me. Number two, I realized, and I didn't know this about myself, because why would you? But mental health advocacy is something that is so important to me that my friend Meredith said it's like Liz Lemon, it's a deal breaker. But she's right. Mental health advocacy is something that's so important to me that if somebody tells me once, because I worked so hard to educate him, and that's not like, oh, I'm so great. I just work really hard for people to have the tools because nobody has them when they need them. And you can't do it for yourself. You need somebody to help you. Like, the only reason I was able to get through having a therapist is because she stepped up, and this isn't even her fucking job. She stepped up and she did legwork to get me the insurance that would allow me to see her. And that was just pure luck because she has two jobs and she also works as like in insurance. And so she even got on the phone and called the insurance company to ask them a detail about what plan was best for me. And because I was poor and all of my money was going to health insurance so that I could, because my health insurance was like $700 with a tax credit, because even though I was making like $20,000 a year or something, because I needed health insurance where the mental health care was not subject to a deductible, meaning that if I had to pay full price for the necessary therapy and medication, as well as doctor visits for, maybe medication monitoring. So therapy, essentially psychologist, psychiatrist, general practitioner. If I had to pay that out of pocket, it would be thousands of dollars a month. So I have to pay $750 a month to get health insurance that will pay for any of it, that will make it affordable in the least. So I worked really hard to educate him on how it feels, where it comes from, what kind of stigma there is against it, how you treat it, what kind of prognosis there is. When I think about this, I'm very smart. But I worked so hard to tell him. And it's strange, too, because I've acquired a lot of knowledge about it and I didn't realize it. I think I'm self-taught in a lot of ways, which is, I don't know, I studied psychology as an undergrad, but I just read about it a lot, I guess. And I, live it. And I see what I notice. And what I notice is that nobody can get their meds. Nobody can get a therapist. Actually, you can get a therapist. Nobody can get a therapist that helps them. Because the thing about a therapist is it's not like going to a shoe store. Anybody at the shoe store could grab the shoes for you and get them. Any doctor could prescribe you antibiotics for when you have strep or whatever. But that's not a therapist. It's like if you went to any 40-year-old lady and said, "You're my mom now." And not because it's somebody that's like a mother, but because it's a thing that's so personal that if somebody has an outlook on life that does not fit with what you need, it will be useless. And perhaps not worse because somebody's listening to you. And they could be an incredible practitioner. They could be a wonderful therapist, but it's so personal that if it's not a good match, it doesn't work. So it's like people who are allergic to penicillin. If you have something and you need penicillin, but you're allergic to it, you just can't take it. So then it's like, well, what the fuck do I do? If you have a mental health issue and you need to see a therapist, but the therapist you see is wrong for you, you're stuck with it because you don't have the money to see a different one. They don't have options for what's in a network. You don't have resources for getting it. And if you had a broken leg, you couldn't walk yourself to the hospital. It's the same thing. If you are depressed, if you were not sad, if you are depressed, you can't shower. So how the fuck are you going to go to a doctor's office, and why the shit do they have so many magazines in there? Life is pointless. It's like, why do I have to come into this fucking place? This is so weird. And then you get into the room and it's great because I have an incredible therapist. But it's because I found the right one. I'm not allergic to her, So I never, ever, ever in my life thought that somebody would look me in the eyes and tell me, "I don't want to date you because you take medication for your mental health." And part of that is because my because my family is so saturated with mental health that it has affected me from such a young age that I can't imagine anything else. So, everyone on my mom's side of the family has, maybe like depression, anxiety, definitely so much ADHD, oppositional defiance disorder, but it's just, you can see it, and it's affecting your life. And then on my dad's side, it's a bunch of like bipolar schizophrenic stuff. So when I was 9, embrace yourself. When I was 9, my dad, for the first time in his life, and he was in his like 30s and hadn't noticed issues before. My dad had just like a schizophrenic break, and he thought Jesus was coming back, and he just shot himself. And he's dead. Just by the way. Anyway, okay. So when I was 9, my dad killed himself because he had a schizophrenic break, and we had no warning. How are you going to know? I mean, he was normal up until that point, is what I'm saying. He was normal up until that point. So he didn't even know he had to be treating something. He didn't know he had a health condition. By the time you have a mental break where you're hallucinating, where you literally think that people are attacking you, where you think that you're God sometimes. And you can't take your medication then because you don't know you can't see the world around you. Like, you can't even get on a bus, I mean, you probably can get on a bus, but so what resulted from that is that for my entire life, my mom, first of all, told us she loved us every time we speak. Like, every time I leave the house, she says it. Or every time I talk to her, and I think it's just a habit, because it's like, we don't know what's going to happen. And the other result of that is that my mom always told us from, the time I was 9, and consistently, like constantly told us, listen, I have 2 sisters. She told us, like, I want you guys to make a pact. And if 2 of you ever notice the other one having problems, or essentially, like, if 2 of you ever notice something kind of schizophrenic-y and get worried, you have to promise that you 2 will notice it and help the other one get medication. And so she said that to us, every month, every couple months. And so from a young age, I wasn't experiencing it, but I had this idea in my mind that I had to watch, that it was like when people have the gene, they have a relative with breast cancer, and then they have to get tested for the gene. I had the gene. So we're just waiting for it to come. And then it came. And I never in my life thought that somebody would look me in the eyes and say to me, I can't date you, because it is so inherent to my being that I know. I don't think I know that mental illness is a sickness. It is not an affectation. It is not a symptom. It's a literal sickness that can be a disability in a sense. So I never thought I was going to hear anyone say that to me. And it, you know what? Depression's a bitch. All right. Well, you've been listening to It's Lainie here at Jazz Buzz Studios in Chicago. This week coming up, I've got Best Night Ever show at G-Man Tavern on Monday. On Friday, I am going to be at the Shithole, which has a secret location, but you can message me for details if you want to come to that show. It's cool. It's really cool. And on Sunday, I will be at the Laugh Factory. So for any of these shows, email me. I will get you free tickets. They give me free tickets because I keep bringing people. So, well, no, it's also because I'm amazing. Okay, anyway. Yeah, so this week you can see me on Monday, Friday, Sunday, any of those days I have shows. My name's Lainie Leonards, and it's wet as fuck up in this bitch. Okay, we're doing another one, okay?